I'm specifically referring to the Chief of Staff's, this is Halevi's, decision to begin the promotion process within the High Command before the Commission of Inquiry has met. Why is this important? Because it addresses what you're just saying. They want to make sure that their successors, and by the way, they've all lawyered up now, which is, I think, really amazing, at our expense, by the way. We're paying the dime on their lawyers, the military lawyers. We're paying for this, okay? So now they're going to promote successors to the people that are responsible for October 7th. And these people are trained by and have been protected by these, I call them villains in uniform, who are responsible for October 7th. And why is this important? Well, because these guys, they're all leftist, want to make sure that their ideology, their political ideology, is sustained in the wake of their possible removal. This should not be allowed. I mean, how is it that you can let a guy like Major General Aharon Haliwa, who should be in jail right now?
The head of military intelligence.
Yes, who should be in jail right now. How can you allow him in particular to appoint his successors? This is insane. This is why all of them, starting with the Chief of Staff on down, should have been removed immediately once this debacle occurred on October 7th. Immediately.
By the way, I should point out that some months ago, at the beginning of the war, I said to some people that all these senior commanders, all the entire staff of the army, what's called the Matkal, the general staff, all the top commanders, heads of Shabak, police, etc., they all have to be removed and replaced. And a number of people said to me, "You're right, but we're at war now. You can't do it during the war."
No.
But look, now I've noticed over the last few months that more and more people, including, for example, General Brick and many others, have come around to the position that at least the Chief of Staff and the head of military intelligence and a number of other specific individuals that they named must be removed immediately.
Look, the High Command, the General Staff, collectively, has not expressed any responsibility at all. Not one of them has expressed responsibility for that disaster that occurred on October 7th. And as far as, Brick is concerned, I disagree with him on a number of things, but on this issue, he just said that as far as our fighting in northern Gaza is concerned, that it's unprofessional. The house-to-house tactics that are being used are unacceptable. There's no supervision whatsoever by the High Command or the people like Finkelman, the commander of the Southern Front, none of them. And that we don't seem to have an appreciation. The High Command does not have an appreciation for the fact that northern Gaza is being reoccupied by Hamasnikim. And that's to recognize that the north has never been adequately cleared, that we still don't know the extent of the tunnel system there, or where the arms caches are, or where Hamas stay-behind units are located. We've allowed the unregulated return of, quote, evacuees, many of whom are single military-age men who disappear a few hours after their reappearance in northern Gaza. And that the army has completely failed. The High Command has completely failed in ensuring that the North, in particular, is clear of our enemies. So if you then go ahead and look at what Bibi's idea is for the day after, we're looking at a complete and utter failure for this offensive that we undertook, in at least in northern Gaza. And we're making the same mistakes in Khan Yunis, and we will make the same mistakes in Rafah, unless these people in the high command, in the general staff, are not fired, removed, taken out of uniform, whatever, and replaced by true warriors, Jewish warriors that understand that there is no other solution but hitting and annexing Gaza. There just isn't. Look what just happened. So we reduced our manpower. They came back, and they're killing soldiers day by day. It's the war, a war of attrition, as I predicted several weeks ago, and
So
it's only going to get
I
worse.
must ask you, therefore, why do you think Netanyahu, who is the prime minister, at least in name, why is he allowing, first of all, as you just mentioned, Chief of Staff Herzi Halevi, to go ahead and make all these appointments within the army instead of getting rid of him? Why does he allow Gantz to pop off to the United States and discuss whatever it is he's been discussing with his American handlers? Why is Netanyahu apparently seems extremely weak and ineffectual?
There are two possible answers for this. One is that he's setting them up, and he's fully capable of doing that. Just as a drowning man pulls a rescuer down with him, he wants all of these people, like Gallant, like Gantz, like Eisenkot, like Halevi, like the rest of them that he has not fired, to be close to him politically and to share the responsibility, or if not the accountability, for this disaster when a commission of inquiry is organized. On the other hand, and I happen really to subscribe to this explanation, I think he's a lot weaker physically than has been admitted. I think that knowing him as I do, the man that I see now is a ghost of his former self. I believe that he is physically, if not mentally, incapable of performing his functions as prime minister. There are certain things that he has not done that strongly suggest that he is not cognitively responsible right now, and that the Americans perceive this, they recognize it, and are now moving in by bringing Gantz over, talking to Halevi in private, by threatening now basically an arms embargo, by putting him between a rock and a hard place. Now, if he were a strong man physically and intellectually, there would be a quick response by all these people, to all these people rather, that are really undermining his authority and perception of credibility as prime minister. If this is the case, he's never going to allow this to be known. Now he's supposedly suffering from flu. Well, my private view on this, Rav, is I don't know how many shots he took of the Pfizer poison.
You're referring to the Pfizer elixir of life. That is safe and effective and without side effects. Right,
unless you're a young man who happens to come down with myocarditis. In this case,
despite excess deaths skyrocketing across the globe.
Correct. So I think, assuming that he took the full course of mistreatment, as I put it, of the Pfizer poison, he could be suffering incurable cardiac problems and who knows what else. The problem is you cannot, when you have somebody that you can't believe because he's not credible, he just lies. I mean, I'm sorry. This is just proven that when this
The one, it has to be stated for the record, the one thing that everyone agrees about with regards to Benjamin Netanyahu is that he cannot be trusted.
at all.
Both those who support him and those who have always
Quite right.
abhorred him. They all agree on that.
I've told people that if he told me the sun rises in the east, I would get up in the morning to
check,
verify that. It's that basic. So he has flu. The last time he had flu, he ended up with a cardiac problem. So what does he have now? Okay, so we've got a prime minister who is not maybe fully functional, and we've got a bunch of, I call them traitors, running around doing the bidding of an American administration that is the most hostile to Israel in recorded history. What are we to do?
The third Obama or Biden
the third Obama administration. And I'm looking for somebody to go to Bibi and just say, you know what? You have two options. You can either gather what little strength you have left and do what's right for Israel, not your legacy, but for what's right for Israel. Or, as was said to Chamberlain in 1940 and Oliver Cromwell 3 centuries before, go in the name of God, go. So the fact that we don't know who might replace him is not the point. Who knew that David would ascend to the throne when he was anointed by Samuel? Who knew? I mean, he came out of nowhere with a family that was in, questionable repute. So I'm not so much concerned with who might replace him as the need for somebody to replace him. As far as your question about, why, these guys weren't replaced.
And why is Netanyahu allowing them to carry on as they please without really reeling them in at all? That's the real question.
This is why, again, I'm of two thoughts on this, two minds on this. Either one, as a drowning man, he's just clinging to his rescuers, and he doesn't want to seem to be calling into question the credibility of the army in times of war, or he's not read history enough to know that when you've had a debacle like this, the first thing you do is get rid of all of the responsible military officers. That's the first thing you do. You get rid of them because they're not capable of correcting the situation that they created.
The British expression is a new broom.
Correct. So here you have, if you look at how the army has conducted this operation since October 7th, I am sorry. If it weren't for the blood, sweat, and tears and the uncommon bravery of our soldiers, I don't know where we would be right now, because the army plan for Gaza and the north is shameful. It is simply shameful. I've said from the beginning that on October 8th, we should have told the Gaza, get somewhere. And that was from Gaza City to Rafah. If you have to, crash the Egyptian border. But if you're here within 24 hours, a high probability of you dying. And on October 10th, no later, Gaza is leveled from one end to the other. The tallest building would be an anthill. Then you send the soldiers in, the Chayalim in. Then you send them in. I have inveighed against this concept of Stalingrad on the Mediterranean. We cannot afford to waste our soldiers the way we have. And nobody listened. Nobody cared. These are the people right now who are responsible.
I will differ with you on one point. There are many people who care, many Israelis who care.
I'm
Not,
talking about the people in the high command, the ones who on
the ones who are part of the cabal, part of the deep state,
correct.
the
No,
ones who are working for foreign interests, they of course do not really care.
right.
But a huge number of Israelis most certainly care.